architecture market is full of some pretty forgettable marketing, particularly from a digital perspective. So I just want to walk through the sequence, the steps that I would encourage firms to work through in order to ensure that they have all the fundamentals in place. Now, as with any marketing, it always needs to begin with research. So what is it that really defines and distinguishes your particular firm of architects? And then what is it that we believe the target audience, our specific niche, our specific market that we're aiming at, what do we believe matters most to them? And finally, what can we learn from our competitors? Now, once we have conducted this research, we should then be in a really strong place to say, right, this is what's going to define our brand. This is what is at the core of our brand. And a simple way of answering that question is to say, is to ask yourself 3 questions, and the answer that sits at the intersection of those 3 questions, that's what we call our brand core. Now, those 3 questions are, what is it that we can do better than anybody else in the world? What is it that really matters to our target audience? And what is it that we believe our competition is neglecting? The answers to those questions, where they overlap, that intersection, that is our brand core. That is the thing that should define our brand now and forever into the future. Now, once we have that brand core, we can then extend that into a brand personality, a tone of voice. We can extend that into brand as organizations. What are our values? What do we really care about culturally? What's the brand as products? What are our key kind of features and benefits? And finally, the brand as symbol. And this is what we typically tend to focus on with brand. So how does it look? What's the aesthetic? What's the color palette? What's the typeface? What's the logo, the user imagery, etc. Now, once we have that brand identity, we're then in a position to say, right, this is what our content should look like. And when I say content, that could be for a full-page advert in an industry magazine. That could be for Facebook. It could be for LinkedIn. It could be for your email newsletter. It could be for an offline event that you're running. When I talk about content, I'm talking about it in a very broad sense. But once we have that brand identity, it's then much easier for us to create a content framework, a content strategy. So what are the different themes that we're going to talk about, the different subjects that we believe are going to really resonate with our target audience? And what's the objective when we're talking about those things? Are we trying to increase our brand awareness? Are we trying to increase engagement with our target audience? Are we trying to capture data? Is there some call to action that we're trying to lead with? Now, once we have these objectives clear on our mind, we can then assign key performance indicators to that content. And finally, we can look at our channel strategy and say, right, this piece of content applies to this channel, whether that's Facebook. This piece of content is going to be better suited to Instagram or to LinkedIn or to a magazine or whatever it might be. Now, it's so rare to find a firm of architects that have actually worked through this process. Typically, they'll do things the other way around. They'll leap onto a particular channel because they believe they're missing an opportunity. They'll see a competitor on Facebook and they'll think, oh my God, we're not on Facebook, or we're not doing much on Facebook. We're clearly falling behind. But because they don't have that brand identity in place, and because they don't have that clear content framework and content strategy, all of that channel activity ends up being, really ineffective and usually very expensive. And they just have to work so much harder than they should have to. So just get your ducks in a row first of all. It needs to go brand, then content, and then finally you can execute on that channel strategy.